All right. Welcome to another edition of Team Ambition Podcast. I'm your host, I'm your coach, I'm John Robinson. And I have the pleasure of having this podcast with not only somebody I'm working with, but a good friend, Lindsay. Welcome.
Hi. Very nice to be here. Thank you for having me on, and I'm excited to chat all the thing about food.
Absolutely. Everybody's favorite topic, everybody's favorite thing is food, which is the perfect person to talk to about. So let's dive right into it. Lindsay, I call them F3s, our friends, followers, and family. Tell them a little about you, how you got here, your journey, the whole nine.
Yeah, so I am 35 years old. I have wanted to be a dietitian since I was 12, which I know is odd for a lot of people to hear, but I have always just loved everything about food and
Yeah.
everything that could benefit the body to be the healthiest possible. So I was so interested of what does food do in the body and how can it improve the way the body operates? But then also it was around the time that like 90s diet culture was really kind of everywhere. And I'm seeing people have very good intentions of health and just in a totally different direction of feeling either they have to eat things that taste like cardboard, feel hungry all the time, or they love what they eat and just accept fate that they're not going to live as long without any medical conditions. I'm like, this seems backwards. I feel like if people just knew how to make food taste good that also fit the bill of health and have a healthy relationship with food, this can really be much easier. So that's really where my passion came from. And I just beelined it immediately to private practice to do one-on-one counseling because I also, what everyone will learn as they're listening to me, I love to talk. And I love to converse
Good.
with people. So being able to have a one-on-one conversation and be able to be like, what is your lifestyle like? What are your preferences? What are your busy times? Because I think the other thing is a lot of people feel that there's one cookie cutter way to do it. And that really discourages people to feel like, well, I don't have the kind of time to do that. I don't like eating the same food every day. I don't have the budget for organic. No one says you got to do that. There are so many different ways to make this work. And I think that's the biggest gap that people are struggling to realize that exists is we can personalize it exactly to you that you enjoy what you eat. It's realistic of your budget and everything else. And then the other passion I have is you might be my client, but you have a family at home, and that just trickles into the whole family. And now everyone's on the same page and just everyone's winning. So that's
Okay.
kind of where I was and where I am now of what my passion is, and obviously tell you a lot more as we go on today.
Absolutely. So talk to me or talk to our followers, our listeners, like what's the name of your company? Where you guys out of? Like, what's that look like for staffing or whatever, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my company is called Absolute Nutrition Counseling. We are in person and virtual for one-on-one counseling. I do take insurance, which I know a lot of people don't even realize. Insurance covers nutrition counseling. We pay an arm and a leg for insurance. You might as well use it and take advantage of what you get out of it. There are dietitians who don't take insurance. I have decided to put myself through hell and back of dealing with insurances because I believe that nutrition counseling and nutrition education is a right that everyone has and should not be a luxury expense. So it really goes with the passion of I truly want to just teach people how they can be better in hitting the motives of what they're aiming for anyway. So, great intention with the right direction. I like to be able to handle the insurance piece of it so it's not breaking the bank for someone for just the better use of their life. I have a staff under me. I have three dietitians that I have. I would say um, 50% of our demographic are eating disorder clients. So I do pride myself on us having a very strong background with eating disorders, disordered eating, and just building a very healthy relationship with food. I have a new dietitian, Laura, who has 25 plus years of experience as a specialty for diabetes educator. So that's really her main squeeze and her excited piece of that. Megan has really dived a lot into menopause, perimenopause. So we have that whole category that we love to train people with. And then we have Anna, who's my full-time dietitian, who her real passion is also with sports nutrition. So it
Okay.
right now, I am trying to get my whole staff and some other colleagues that I've worked with in the past in a whole study group to get our sports nutrition certification. So we'll have that added on. So every few years, I like to just add on more education, more specialties, because the more people we can help, the more we're happy.
Absolutely. Wow. So, I think that especially when you talked about the menopause, that's like I don't know if that's maybe I'm new to this, I guess, space, but it seems like that's a really big thing that's in, especially obviously in women. That's like a real big popular topic right now. I see a lot of that, more so on social media. I hear a lot about menopause and how, nutrition and everything goes into that. So
Yeah, it's really interesting because obviously menopause is not new to any women, but I've even noticed it being a much more spoken about, studied topic recently than in all the years that I've been working as a dietitian. And I'm like, why is this popping out of the woodwork now? This is
yeah,
not new. We've had women who've gone through perimenopause and menopause, but I think it's just we finally are unlocking so much more women's health science studies. About time, but it's nice that we're
yeah.
finally here and they're doing a lot more studies on it. We do have a doctor that we work closely with who does hormone replacement therapy, and it's just nice to be able to learn a lot more and give these women a lot of the relief and symptoms removed that they're dealing with to kind of navigate that stage of life. So I'm happy that it's so much more popular now because the suffering is nothing new, but now at least we have some results for it, which is exciting.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah, I think even for me, like I say, it's obviously I don't get menopause, but just like working with all the different ladies I have the privilege to working with, they talk about a little bit menopause and things of that nature. So that's why I'm so thankful that I'm able to refer or conversate with you for different things in relations to nutrition and how that's effective. So let me ask you this: what made you want to be a dietitian and not maybe like a nutritionist or just I hate to say it like this, but just a generic nutritional coach?
Um, I wanted to learn it all. Like this would be a profession. So to be a dietitian versus a nutritionist, if you go on the Academy website for dietetics, you'll see technically, anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, unfortunately. There's no regulation on that. So, if anyone is looking for someone who does have the education and specialty, and this is something that general population wouldn't know. Like a lot of people don't know what a dietitian is, but they know what a nutritionist is because it sounds familiar. But the credentials are significantly different. So, for me, I really wanted to learn all the things. That was the career path I wanted. So to just decide to do like just wellness coaching is a little different. Also, to me, that now sounds like now I'm in sales. I actually never intended to even be a business owner. Like I just wanted to be a dietitian working for somebody else's private practice, do nutrition and not have to deal with the headache. How I got here as building my own business is something I didn't anticipate. But because I take insurance and the credentials I have, it feels more of a smooth system rather than me feeling ingenuine and charging out of pocket costs for somebody for me knowing that I don't have the credentials I should to justify educating someone. And also you just don't have as much knowledge. So
Yeah,
we are working with so many different medical conditions. It would not be right for me to give somebody education in terms of diabetes if I don't know anything about diabetes and the consequences it
1,000%.
can have. So being a dietitian versus someone who's just in the wellness field, there is a big scope and a range of what somebody can touch on and what they can't. And being mindful that it could potentially lead somebody in the wrong direction health wise without knowing, or
Yeah.
creating an unhealthy relationship with food that was not intentional that now is. So just being the highest level of what nutrition expert can possibly be just felt like I can really do the most service and the most justice for the population that I'd want to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that part when you said that because I think even out here, I'm not, I mean, nowhere near a registered dietitian, nutrition, anything of that nature. But there is a lot of people that are giving out, misinformation just because they want to try to make a little bit of money or whatever the case may be, unfortunately. So I think that referring to registered dietitians such as yourself and other companies who are just like you guys set people up for the success. So I think you're spot on. So let me ask you this. So we're gonna segue a little bit. Now we're gonna dive into a little bit deeper roots of nutrition. So how would because everybody has a different perspective, how would you say you would define like a healthy diet?
Most people are not going to like this answer because it's not as specific as people want. A healthy diet would be being well-rounded in the food groups, incorporating all of them, drinking plenty of water, getting good sleep, managing stress, and not being hungry. eating the appropriate amount of calories that we need, having the right balance of foods. I feel like it is such a general thing I'm saying and so vague that people are like, well, how do I do that? It is somewhat vague and it is a loaded question, so it's hard to be super specific, but um what I will say is there is a rhyme and reason for a balance. Making sure that we're having the right amount of carbs and fat and protein and hitting all the different food groups and enough variety. So what people might not know is the variety of food groups all have different nutrition that the body needs in order to survive. So there is a reason for well-roundedness in order to hit all of the vitamins and minerals that we need for the body to function appropriately. So it's easy for someone to just have like, these are the foods I like. These are all healthy, quote unquote, food items. So therefore I'm good. But if you don't have the dietitian eye, you're like, whoa, we're totally missing vitamin C here. We're missing calcium here. We are having way too many oxalates and now we're at risk of kidney stones, or we don't have any potassium. No wonder you're having cramps at night. So it's kind of, there is just so much. The body's amazing. It's absolutely
Yes.
incredible. It does so many things and it does way more, and food does way more with the body than any general person would even know is connected with food. So especially in this realm of 2026 where there is so much abundance of information, true and false, it makes it really difficult for people to see the true sight without having this level of fear in the back of their head due to something that they may have seen or read. But it really comes down to basics. We've been around for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
So there is like, the body's not a delicate flower. We can handle lots of things. Hit each food group, be well rounded in the day. So that would be, I don't know, I love people to have 4 cups of vegetables a day. I would love for you to have 1 or 2 fruits a day. I would love for you to have 2 to 3 servings of dairy a day. I want you to have grains. So, like, that's going to be a starch, honestly, with 2 to 3 meals in your day, and then possibly with snacks. I want you to eat frequently. So, I want you to eat every 4 hours or so. I want you to drink half your body's weight of ounces of water a day. I want you to get 8 hours of sleep. The core basics, and I hope I'm not rambling here, but I think it's
No, this
important
is
for
good.
everyone to know this. So, if anyone has never heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I highly recommend everyone just do a quick Google and look at it. Basically, it is a pyramid and it will show you from the bottom up. You cannot achieve a higher tier unless you've achieved the bottom tier. So basically, it will go from the basics of food, shelter, sleep, and then the next one might be, okay, shelter and financial stability. The next one might be community. And then the next one above that might be like personal creativity
Yeah.
and imagination. And if someone's struggling on the higher tier, worst case scenario, go back to the bottom of the basics. And the basics is food, sleep, water. So a lot of people are neglecting that and trying to live with all those higher tiers, and it all goes back to the basics. It really carries through. So that's why we can't just double down with better nutrition and just continue to avoid sleep. Sorry, guys, you got to get the sleep. We can't just be like, I
Yeah.
don't like water, but can I just double down on exercise instead? No, you cannot. Like, all of this has a balance, and I think people need to respect the body, that there is a happy balance. But I will say in America, more is great, bigger is better, faster, stronger. It's like, we got to chill. There's a bell
Yeah.
curve and there's a happy medium of everything. Too much of a good thing might not make it continue to say a good thing. So, in terms of what is a healthy diet, in that loaded
Yes.
question that I know I'm answering a lot of, it
No, it's
is
perfect.
balance, it is consistency, it is being well rounded.
Spot on. Wow. No, I there's no way I can even say that even better. So there's can't say it even better. Do you think
Thank
there's like a such thing as like a perfect diet for everybody or anything like that?
I love that question because the answer is no. There is nothing of perfect. There's no need for perfect. It
Mm.
is more about consistency. So one thing I like to tell clients when a lot of people get really stressed out around holidays, around barbecues, around birthdays, and yeah, like there's definitely things that we can talk about of how to be mentally well prepared to navigate a day like that or on vacation. But let's say I have a client that like honestly is really well structured, doing a great job, living a great healthy lifestyle, then when it's vacation, go on vacation. Enjoy, eat. Because if we add in vacation, birthdays, barbecues, holidays, I don't know, we're talking what, maybe 20, 30 days of the year. There are
Mhm.
345 other days I care about.
Yeah.
If you really put it in perspective, those days don't matter. The 335 to 345 days are significantly more impactful that we need to worry about rather than putting all of this emphasis on just those specific days. The other
Mhm.
thing I will say in terms of a perfect diet, which really the perfect diet is what I said in the last answer, a well balance of everything, being well
Yes.
rounded and all of that. But when people overstretch the idea of being perfect, they end up being too rigid and they end up avoiding foods that they really like, which is not sustainable. So, what happens when I have clients that, let's say it is the holidays and they have friends and family over and they're eating foods that they love and they're like, Lindsay, that was a slippery slope. I just ran away with that from then on. And they just almost had this snowball effect of all these old foods and really had a hard time getting back on track. When people do that, to me, it's like they were not enjoying their foods because they had this taste of enjoyment and what other any other psychological things that comes with food. It's not so food is not just transactional. There is so much that comes with it. It is nostalgia, it is stress relief, it is enjoyment, it is environment around it. It carries so much. So to
Mhm.
make food turn into this transactional thing, you are neglecting so much more that comes with it. So then when you finally do have a meal that you love or was your childhood favorite meal, and then you have this moment of euphoric feeling and this dopamine rush, and then you're like, I can't go back to it. That means we need to create more enjoyment in our day-to-day foods. If you love what you're eating every day and you have great satisfaction from it, you can eat those foods that are off the plan, quote unquote plan, and then be able to come right back because you're still enjoying what you're doing. So I do think that having this perfect diet is not trying to be so rigid and perfect and neglect all of those environmental aspects because it makes it unsustainable and then it feels like this white knuckling you need to live by and like why we can love it and also love life and
Yeah.
have a great healthy life. Like we don't need to torture ourselves through it, and that's the biggest message I try to get across from people. Like the amount of people who fight me on bread and pasta, and I'm like, listen, you could have bread, you could have pasta. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I could have bread. I'm like, yeah. You want a sandwich for lunch? They're like, oh, I can have a sandwich for lunch. I'm like, hell yeah, you can. What do you want in it?
Yes.
And that's like my favorite part of a session is like seeing what they love and telling them they can have it and like, all right, let's build it and let's just make it well balanced and have everything you need. And yeah, you want to have that every day? Go for it. They're like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this. And now look how easy it is to follow such a healthy lifestyle when you love and look forward to everything that you're eating.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I might have ran far away from what your
No, that's
question
good.
was, but that to me would be a perfect diet is it's not perfect. It's having the right balance and having things that you enjoy and not putting too much stress on these one-off days rather than the regular days of the week.
Yes. Sometimes like some of the people that will say like, whether it doesn't matter if I'm coaching or not, just have a conversation in regards to just general nutrition. A lot of times they'll be like, hey, I feel like, I'm not doing it right or nutrition right. Because I had a piece of cake or, I had a slice of pizza, but I'm like, you should be able to eat that. You shouldn't feel like you restrict it. And, because to your point, if you constantly restrict yourself, you're not going to be happy. And then it's going to turn to something else. You're going to go into binge eating or depression, anxiety, all these other things that can stem just because you maybe feel guilty about having something that you like.
Yeah,
So, so I
absolutely.
understand everything you said.
Yeah, and in
Uh,
addition to that, I often give clients in their meal plan, they could have dessert every night. I'll say one serving, whatever you want. And then they come back and they're like, I honestly haven't even been having it every day. Like I could, like I know I
yeah,
can, but like I don't know, 3 to 4 days just felt fine. I'm like, great. So already by default, you're only having it when you need it. It's that restrictive that I can't gives this very big build of wanting it more. But then same with like, oh, I had a little bit of this, I had a little bit of that. I'm like, all right, well, especially like depending on like calorically of whatever it was, I'm
right.
like, it's really not a big deal. I don't care. Like, is that gonna mess everything up? And I'm like, what happens when you find change in your bag? Cool, you found change, but are you really richer? No. The day goes the same. And that's how I feel
I'm
about
using
certain
that.
extra calories. It's just like changing your bag. Cool. It's a little bit more money, but does it make a difference? Literally no.
I'm still in that. I like that. I
Use it
like
all the
that analogy.
time.
I like that analogy.
I love my
Um,
analogies, so you might hear a bunch. Take
I'm
whatever you
stealing them.
like.
I'm stealing them. Okay, so I'm gonna transition also talk a little bit about, some of those myths that we hear, right?
Yeah.
The number one thing, well, it could be all these could be number one, but one of them is like, hey, carbs make you gain weight. What are your thoughts on that myth or that thought when people say, maybe some of your clients, patients say, hey, I don't want to eat these carbs because, I thought I'm supposed to be in a deficit. I don't want to gain weight, whatever case may be. Carbs are bad. They're demonized. What are your thoughts?
Um, all of that is untrue. I will say it again, listeners. It is untrue. You need carbs, and you need carbs more than you need protein or fat. So I think this really ran away with diet culture. For the sake of this podcast, I will give snippets, but if people want to
Okay.
know more, feel free that we can open up this conversation and really dive in about carbs. But the way I explain it to people, so we have carbs, fat, and protein, right? These are the macronutrients. Every single food falls into those three categories. And so, what, like I said earlier, that people might not understand how the body operates, and you can't just pick and choose because we just say we don't like it or we say that it's bad. Those are people who don't understand how the body operates. So, the way I explain it is you want to think of it as like your car tires, your brakes, and your steering wheel. You can't say, I don't want the tires. It's bad for me. I'm going to have extra brakes. That car's not going anywhere. And that's what carbs, fat, and protein are. They are all important, but they are all different. And what carbs do, and this might resonate with a lot of people who have lived on a low carb diet for some time, carbs literally turn into energy. Energy to work out, sure, but to physically be alive. That is how your heart pumps. That is how your brain functions. That is how your lung works. The body literally uses carbs for energy, just like a car uses gas to go. Nothing else, just gas. The body uses nothing else, just carbs for energy. So when people on a low carb diet, I bet you're tired. I bet
Yes.
you're craving carbs. And that is not lack of willpower or lack of self control. It's your body trying to redirect you. So our brain and our body are connected physically, but they're almost like two different things acting. So our bodies, like humans are instinctual animals. We go by instinct. So our body is the instinct trying to drive us to carbs, drive us to water, but the brain can override it being like, I heard this is bad. I'm not going to do this. And then the body is like, yes, you are. I know you like cake and pizza and donuts, so I'm making you crave that because we need energy and we need energy now. I'm not going to waste my time craving blueberries. We're never going to reach our needs. So that's where these cravings come in. But carbs do not cause weight gain. That is a fear mongering tactic. And what it does is people will then, the diet will say to have a lot of protein because protein is very filling. So now they're like, okay, I'm going to fill these suckers up on so much protein. They're too full to realize that I cut out all their calories and I cut out carbs. So yes, the first month you have this illusion of weight loss because you're just restricting until eventually your body's like, I need energy. I need carbs. And you go off. And now we blame ourselves because we're like, ah, I couldn't stick to it long enough. No, your body overrided you. It's like, no, 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 we can't live this way. I'm taking over. So that creates this cycle of these diets where people feel like it works and then it doesn't work. It works and then it doesn't work. Reality, it never worked. It gives this illusion to sell its product for you to then come back to do it again. So by the time people come over to me, they're like, Lindsay, I've tried everything and nothing works anymore. And I'm like, yeah, because your body has learned every trick under the book. What we're going to do is we're going to work with your body and not against it. So, long-winded way of saying the carbs when I said I was going to keep it short and I didn't. Carbs are so important for you. And if you love to train and you work out, you absolutely need carbs. Don't eat a protein bar before the gym. That doesn't provide energy. It just keeps you full and makes you quiet. But if you eat carbs before the gym, you now have energy to then lift heavier weights. You have energy to work harder. You can now work out harder to have a better result. So carbs are so important even for that aspect too. But if we're feeling tired all day, it's because we're not having enough carbs for our body to function. Even if you don't work out, you just need, these organs are working every day, all day. So carbs are important. It is a myth that they're bad. It is a way to fear monger to get people to feel like they are not confident in their decisions and they need a higher this diet or pay this diet in order to tell them what to do. So it all comes down to confusing the client, confusing the demographic where they don't trust their own instincts. And then basically I'm like, no, we're going to trust your instincts because you were right.
So do you think that, if, people who are not eating enough carbs, because to your point, it takes away their energy, I'm pretty sure it also, can mess up their sleep and all those other different things, those other different variables. So would you say, is it safe to say not eating enough carbs will also, you're pretty much for the most part, you're also going to be in a deficit. But would you also say that takes a toll on the metabolism too?
Yes. Oh my God, I'm so happy you said that. So, yes, it takes a toll on your metabolism, which, by the way, your metabolism is the rate that your body utilizes food for energy. So, we always want it to go fast. We want our body to use our food efficiently for all the things it's meant to do: brain function, recovery, eyesight, hair, skin, and nails, blah, 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 blah. But when our metabolism is slow, basically, it's as if you lost your job and you are running out of savings, and you have to be really careful of what you choose to spend your money on. You're not going to just fix the window that's broken and fix the AC in your car. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with it because we just need to pay rent because that's most important. That's what the body does when our metabolism is very slow. So it's not going to burn our food off the way it would before. So when we are low in carbs, your metabolism will slow down because it's not getting what it needs. Secondly, like I said, the tires, the brakes, and the steering wheel, everything has a job. When the carbs are not enough, and your organs don't have enough to do its job, everything suffers. Now the kidneys, those filter the blood and filter protein. So for those who are having way too much protein and not enough carb, you are overloading your kidneys to work too hard with too little energy to do the job because the carbs make the kidneys work. So this also can create a lot of organ failure. Too much carbs over an excessive amount above what we need, risk of diabetes. Too much fat over an excessive amount, heart attack or stroke. Too much protein over excessive amount, kidney failure, liver failure. It is a domino effect. I like to tell people really extreme diets, it's not like a trendy haircut where you can just shave half your hair off. If you don't like it, it'll grow back, no big deal. These are your vital organs that you're messing with. So it is something to be really, really careful of what we do before we do anything too extreme because it does have a larger negative effect than just what the aesthetics that we assume we're aiming for.
1,000%. Out of all the different topics that we are discussing, I'm glad you really hammered the carb thing home because I think I know you see this day in day out. Um, you know, like I said, people look at carbs as like to demonize you. I don't want to eat carbs. I don't want to gain weight. I don't get fat. Whatever the case may be, whatever that person is telling themselves to say to everybody else. But I'm so glad you hammered that part home. So thank you, seriously, thank you. If nothing else. Thank you for that one.
Yes,
So,
everyone, eat your carbs. For the love of
yes,
God, eat your
please.
carbs. You're going to love it. You're going to feel great. You're going to train great.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, you talked about a little bit about families. So let's lean into let's talk about a little bit of groceries. Let's talk about grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say, or some from your experiences, different families that you're working with, moms, dads, whatever the case may be, talk to me about what your approach or guidance may be when it comes to like grocery shopping.
I love this question. I love giving a kind of a good guide of how to go food shopping because I do think the other hard part is people struggle food shopping. They worry that they buy too much and then they don't eat it all and if they throw it out and then they feel guilty they didn't eat it all. And I'm like, how could you have eaten it all? That was an aggressive amount of food that no way you could have eaten it all. And now you feel guilty that you weren't successful when really we just need to be smarter with what we're putting on in our cart and not overbuying. So, the first and most important thing, bring a list. Make a list. I make a list. And I am an expert in food and food shopping, and I always have a list. So, the way I like to guide people is so as we're making a list, and a lot of times I'll do this with clients too, depending on where we're at when we build shopping for that day. So we think of, okay, I like to go break down meal by meal of what we need. So breakfast of the few different options. And also, guys, we don't need to have 20 options every week. We can have just a few options this week, and then we can have a few options next week. In
Love
terms
it.
of non-perishables, okay, there's a lot more variety you can have, but in terms of perishables, limit the variety you need in a week. So I like to tell people like two perishable snacks a week as an idea for that week to limit how much we're food shopping for. So I like to break down by meals first. So, okay, if we have two different breakfasts we normally rotate from, like let's say it's like eggs and avocado toast. Do I need eggs? Yes. How many eggs do I eat a day? How many eggs does my significant other eat a day? And how many do my kids eat? That's how you figure out how many cartons of eggs you're gonna buy. I know this seems annoying, but this quickly becomes much easier of how to navigate appropriately purchasing food. Then bread. Okay, we know the bread. And then we would do the avocado. And then, okay, I might do a Greek yogurt parfait. Okay, I'm going to get Greek yogurt. Do I need granola? No, I have granola. Okay, that starts building the list. Lunches and dinners. One tip, this is an additional tip I'll give all of you if you want it. So, personally, I like a hot entree for lunch or I like leftovers for lunch. What
Okay.
makes this easier, this is one less meal I need to food shop for. This is one less meal I need to prep. I'm just cooking more of my dinner and now I have leftovers for lunch. This makes food shopping significantly easier and less options in the house for me. But so depending on what your lunches are and depending on what your dinners are, and I tell people like we don't need to have a new dinner every single day. If you want to and you have the time, go for it. Personally, I don't, and I think that in general, the way that our lifestyles are, there's just not enough hours in the day. So I would love to take away so much time cooking in the kitchen every single day of the week. Maybe two or three dinner options a week, and then we just kind of, have it for a few days, or you can kind of change it up a bit with a minimal ingredient so it's slightly different, but generally the same. So for my household, like I know I'm going to want to have 4 to 6 ounces of protein for lunch and for dinner, and my fiance would need 6 ounces for whatever. So I add all of that up. So I know how many pounds of chicken do I need to have? How many pounds of steak do I need? How many pounds of fish do I need? So that helps you narrow down how much you're buying. Again, it seems like a lot of math, but I know I need 5 pounds of chicken a week between lunches and dinners between us. That's going to carry lunches for the week and 3 chicken dinners. And then I know how many ounces is in a serving. So how much shrimp do I need to get in one sitting to last for 2 meals? So between that, now you know how much protein you're purchasing that week. And then we go into, and then of course, the vegetables are a little different. I like 2 cups with lunch and 2 cups with dinner. For everyone who doesn't have a measuring cup in your pocket every 2 seconds, which I don't expect anyone to, make a fist. Your fist is visually 1 cup. So just look at it, and that's a cup. So it helps you know, like, a zucchini or a cucumber may be 2 cups if it looks like it's 2 fists. So it kind of helps you know how many, if I'm going to have salads, how many cucumbers do I need? Again, this may be a little bit more trial and error. Like if I go to ShopRite or for down in Florida, it might be
Publix, Walmart.
Publix, Walmart,
Yeah.
whatever. So I might know like, okay, a giant bag of broccoli will last us 3 dinners. You
Yeah.
start to feel that out until you kind of get in a groove and it becomes very regimented. And then lastly, you'll be like, okay, snacks. What perishable snacks? Again, 2 perishable snacks per week. And then you kind of have an idea of how much you're going to have. Also, limit yourself to maybe 2 different vegetables and 2 different fruits a week. Don't go. I know you're excited and you're in the produce aisle and you get everything you like, but what meal is that going with and how are you going to eat it all? Then the next week, buy 2 different vegetables and 2 different fruits. Rotate it that way so you're not going crazy with too many items and there's no plan. Have a plan, and when you think of the meal, go
Mm.
ingredient by ingredient. Do you have it? Do you not have it? And you write it on the list. So on the very top is going to be the meals and the snacks that you plan that week. And below it, you've gone through each meal and each snack to add on what needs to be bought and what doesn't. And then lastly, do you need milk? Do you need juice? Do you need condiments? Those
Yeah.
little things. But the list becomes smaller and smaller the one more consistent you get with it and what you know you have. So I hope that that's not too vague and that that
No.
was specific and helpful.
No, so I hear details. So I always reframe, I reframe almost everything, every conversation for the positive, right? So what I just heard you say is you use an organized list, but also having that organized list, you'll also know have an idea how much you're spending. Because I was literally about to lean into a little bit like what are your thoughts on, having healthy meals and they're expensive and stuff like that. But if you have a solid list, you already know what you're going to be getting, and potentially that list may not change every week. You already have an idea how much you're spending. So eating healthy doesn't have to be expensive.
No, it really is just being just doing the math and kind of making sure you're just getting the quantities that you want, which a lot of people don't do and their minds might not go there. So I'm kind of training people to go there. But again, it's no different than like having to learn how to do laundry and like any
Yeah.
other life skill around the house. In the beginning, it might feel like different, but then once you kind of get in a groove, it just becomes second nature. So we're just kind of putting these skills that no one was really taught. You practice it a little bit, and then it makes this very simple, significantly less stressful. Also, the one other thing I'll say to people in this, save the recipes you made that you liked.
Mm.
We make it, we like it, and then we forget about it. And then every week we're figuring out what are we having for dinner? What are we having for dinner? So, the other thing in terms of food shopping and knowing what to make, I like to tell people all of the wins, the easy meals that everyone likes, write it down. I like to tell people to aim like to eventually build 20 recipes on a list. Let's say 10 of them are quick and easy and like staples, and the other 10 can be favorites but might require a little bit more labor or work. And
Yes.
then between the 20, if you are going to have 3 meals a week divided by 20, that's what, a little bit more than 6 weeks worth. You're going to
Yep.
be 6 weeks before you even have that meal again, that you're not really overeating it to death, that you're like, oh my God, we're having this meal again because you're rotating around. So everyone saves all these recipes and then no one goes back and looks at them. But there's also plenty of recipes I'm sure you've made that you've really liked, and then that doesn't mean that's the last time you make it. Put it on
Yeah.
that list if it's a favorite. And then it kind of like I have that at my house that now I'm like, what am I gonna have? And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. I'm happy I wrote it on the list because now
Yes.
I can have that again. So you might have to start building that list, but it's really good to have. And if you're really getting excited and you're getting into it, you can keep adding to that list, and eventually you're gonna have seasons. You'll have your winter favorites, your summer favorites, the grill. You might have, whatever it's going
Yeah.
to be, like your quick when I only have 30 minutes. So I think that's a way to kind of minimize this overwhelmingness of like, I don't know what to make. I don't know what dinner is going to be. And then lastly, look at your week in advance. Be strategic. If you know you have kids' activities in the afternoon and you're getting home late, that is not the day to cook. The day to cook is the day before and you're having leftovers when you get home. And then on top of that, what you can do in addition, if it's days that you have to cook for the next day that you get home late, you can also then, that could be a day that you throw things in the oven and put it on for an hour and forget about it because you don't have to worry about when it's done. You already had dinner, but now you have tomorrow already planned. So there's a different level of strategy to navigate around your schedule where you're not constantly strapped and it didn't work out. It just requires a little bit of forethought in the beginning of the week.
Yes.
But again, once you get in a groove and you start to understand what works, but again, this is so specific for each person, which is why I like having these conversations with my clients of how to kind of like trick the system in a way that works in their favor. It makes a lot less of a headache, a lot less wasted food, and it just becomes so much easier to eat well without feeling like it's a part-time job to the time that you already don't have.
Mm. Man. So like so the planning, if you plan ahead, you it sounds like you plan ahead, you're always, you don't have to get ready, you're already ready, if I kind of heard that.
Yeah.
So
Eating well, like having a healthy lifestyle is you just can't do it on the fly. It requires a little bit of preparation, but not an obsessive amount of preparation, just some forward thinking. Like if you look at your calendar, you know you can't make a doctor's appointment at 5 if you don't get home till 6. So
exactly,
don't plan dinner if you're getting home at 8. So it's
exactly.
just figuring out a different way around it, but it just takes a little, it just takes everyone's day is so rushed. Everyone's rushing and rushing and rushing. We just have to give ourselves a second to just stop, really look at it and plan because then it makes the whole week easy. I also tell people too, like you don't have to do a full Sunday of meal prepping all in one day. Like I love football. I don't want to spend my Sunday just meal prepping all day, and I don't want to eat the same food every day. But if there is a day I'm doing some meal prepping, that meal prepping can just be chopping things. If I am
Yeah.
already chopping something, I might as well chop all the things. And then I only have to clean the knife and the board one time, and I've only added maybe 15 extra minutes to chop
Yeah.
everything because I see clients late in the evening. So if I'm done at 7, I like that I already have my potatoes cut up and my veggies cut up. So the oven is on and I just throw that in the oven on the baking sheet. That saved me 15 minutes of time of taking the vegetables out, cutting them up, cleaning the thing, cleaning the counter. Like that's just time. If you add that up every day, 15 minutes every single day, that's like over an hour that I did in one shot on one day, and I just saved myself that already the food is cooking. So those are like little easy cheats that just make the day easier without having to cook all the meals on one day. There's multiple versions of meal prep that can work in your favor depending on what you need.
I want to share a quick story about meal prep, real quick. I'm gonna make this like really short. So about 3 weeks ago, I went to Kentucky for a sales training. It's a 2-day sales training, and I met a lady there. We had to go around the room and say, "What is one interesting thing about yourself?" So this lady stood up. She's from San Antonio, Texas. I'll never forget this. She was like, "I cook all my meals." I'm in my mind like, "Don't we all?" She was like, I cook all my meals from scratch. She's a butcher. She butchers the meat. She cooks everything in bulk. She takes a whole day, an 8-hour day, cooks all her food that lasts a whole month.
Wow.
I thought that was so interesting.
That is
Um,
impressive.
Very. So I mean, in my mind, like, okay, everybody can meal prep. Okay, yeah, three, four,
No,
five
but
days.
that's a flex.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, in a good way. So
Yeah.
I was just like blown away by that, and I literally sat and talked to her for about a solid 45 minutes to an hour, just learning and hearing how it goes. I want to get her on the podcast, but we'll see how that goes.
You
But
definitely should because I'm intrigued.
so yeah, it just threw me back. I've never met anybody who's done that before. I've met people who've done, a week's worth, which is, even then rock on. But it was just astounding to me. So I thought I'd just share that quick
Yeah,
thought.
that's cool.
So I was going to lean into some exercise stuff, but I want to stay in the nutrition side because I mean, the nutrition is what fuels the great fitness side aspect of things. So that could be a whole nother later podcast or something. But so talk to me about this. Why do you think people fail? We got about 10, 15 more minutes. Why do you think people fail diets? And when I say fail, meaning that not just one day, 2 days, like maybe they've gone 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. That could be a failure. I want to say a failure is like 1 or 2 days. I don't call that a failure. Maybe a failure
Yeah,
could be like,
agreed.
2 or 3 weeks or something like that.
I would say either they're doing a plan that's not sustainable, so their body's fighting against them, so it's impossible to follow through. Whether their macros are not balanced, or not eating enough calories, or whatnot. Another way would be some people go really gung ho and totally turn their life upside down. They are like so motivated and they just went from 0 to 100 that all of a sudden they're like the influencer version of themselves where they sleep and then they drink water and they do all of this. So if you think about habits, we have like 30, 40, 50 years of habits that you have learned, and you just tomorrow want to just be totally different, it's gonna take some time. And then basically that can also cause people to totally revert back because it was just too much change too quickly, and it just motivation does not last. So if
Facts.
we're using motivation as our way to be on board of something, don't expect you to do this forever. That's where discipline comes in after the fact. But we want to make sure that whatever you created is realistic to your life. And I do think sometimes too, when we try to do everything, it does get really overwhelming. So I find for some people, like, let's do 2 or 3 different goals and really hone in on those until about a month. What, 28 days, 30 days takes to make or break a habit? Now that's become your new life. Now we do 2 or 3 more things. So you're never juggling 20 things of I need to do all 20 things that make life perfect. You're going to slowly build each one till they slowly become your lifestyle. So you're only focusing on 2 or 3 at a time because at the end of the day, the result is to stay on the path. So you
Right.
have to look at this in the long term, not the short term. I think some people want immediate satisfaction, and I also think people are not patient enough. That's also how people can fall off because they're impatient and they overdo. Again, that's not sustainable. That goes back to the unsustainability point of it. But I think when you have so many other aspects of your life that you're balancing, like we have to think of some of these celebrities, like their literal full-time job is to look a certain way. And they
Yes.
have all of the people around them to do all the chores for them. We don't have that. We are an average day American. We have work, we have chores, we have other things to do. We have so many things. So to put all of the change in one aspect and think that the other things are not going to fall short because of that is impossible. It's obvious. So that's where it comes down to a realistic change and balance. So I think the way I like to do it is we're having these changes work seamlessly within their day rather than it being such a drastic change. And it falls into place much easier and people sustain the course and stay on path. So those are the main things I feel like people fall off for too long with what your question was.
No, 1,000%. So I'm actually going to relate that to, I hate to say it, but it's the facts, right? New Year's resolutions, right?
Yep.
That whole, all right, I'm gonna get in shape January 1 or January 2nd, whatever. A lot of people start, they haven't worked out in a year, but they want to go do 5 days, 6 days a week or whatnot. And that's when they burn out and then they quit. So I'm like
Yep.
always like, hey, start small. Like let's do maybe 1 or 2 days, see how you feel. And then gradually we can start adding in as your body starts getting acclimatized to it, and your days, your lifestyles get gets acclimatized to it. Because they try to come out the gates running fast, which is great motivation, literally what you said, but that motivation wears off.
Yeah.
You're
And then the
spot
other
on.
aspect too is like the all or nothing mentality. Guys, ditch
Yeah,
it. Stop it. No more all or nothing. It is not helpful for anyone or anything. There is no such thing as all or nothing because what you do is you are also setting yourself up for a perfect day. Someone tell me when they had a perfect day. It literally doesn't exist. Something gets in the way that makes the day imperfect, and we have to know how to adapt. But if we have an all or nothing mentality, you're basically, oh, well, it didn't go great, so I'm just going to do nothing. And that's way worse than, I tell people, like, a C is better than an F, a B is better
yeah,
than a D. Like, there's a range and a spectrum here. So it's important to not set yourself up for a perfect day if there is no perfect day. It's how well can I adapt to the situation that I'm in. So I do think the mentality also is an issue that gets people falling off because they feel like they failed, but they also created an expectation that I'm like, who thought that that was going to work? I'm telling you right now that's never going to
yeah,
work. So we're not going to do that. If you want to do 5 days, cool, great. Do it. I'm telling you, I want you to do three. If you do
yes,
more, great. But you know you only need to do three. Because I do
yes,
think when you have an expectation and you don't meet it, you are so disappointed in yourself that it creates such a more draining, pull down negative effect that really then carries with them. And we have to keep them uplifted and positive and hopeful and just kind of keep that momentum. So if you create such a high standard and you don't meet it, you now are now thinking that you failed rather than
yeah.
like, well, that was too much. I only need to do three. So let me at least do three. That's still good. That was the plan. I just didn't do my bonus. Okay, so you didn't do the bonus, but you did the main plan.
Spot on, spot on. So let me ask you, I'm gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions before we hop off in a little bit. All right, so these are specifically for you,
Okay.
specifically for you. All right, so we talked a little bit about your preparation styles, and we talked about, hey, I like to have lists. I take what my fiance wants, what you want. Okay, cool. So what would you say is your favorite to go snack? Like you're in a rush, you may have a meeting that you're about to do with some of the people that, some of your staff, or you guys may be meeting with a doctor or a doctor's group or whatnot. What's like your go-to snack?
My favorite snack, the Dots pretzels, the original with string cheese.
Okay. I don't know if I've had that before. I
It's
think
like
I've
my
done.
new favorite
Yeah.
pretzel.
Okay.
I love a
Um,
salty. And then I love string cheese.
okay, what is your favorite breakfast meal?
Avocado toast with over easy eggs with slice of tomato. And if I have pickled onions, which I always forget to get, I would add that on top. That's delicious. And
That
then,
sounds
ooh,
actually
and a slice or two of crispy bacon.
that sounds really good, to be honest with you.
RD approved, just as my example.
Okay. Let's say you are traveling. Well, actually, because you do travel a lot. Let's say you're going on travel. What would you say is like your go-to travel meal? Like you're in New Jersey, but let's say I think you guys like to go snowboarding out of Pennsylvania, I think, or something like that, or Rhode
Yeah, so
Island.
whether we go to Vermont or
Yeah.
like if we're going East Coast, Vermont would be where we would go for that.
Okay, so what's like your go-to travel meal, if
Um,
any, if any?
like if I'm in the car,
Yeah.
oh, I like to make a good sandwich.
Okay.
So like I like a Tuscan sandwich, so I'll get like if we have like the rotisserie chicken, I'll have the bread. I like it a little toasted. And then I will have fresh mozzarella on it. I might have some avocado if I can, some balsamic and some spinach and roasted peppers. Or if it's one of those like where everyone's together and we're getting deli meat sandwiches and we have to have it for while we're out on the mountain, then
Yes.
I will do turkey, cheddar cheese. I love pickles, so I'll take some paper towels and I'll dry them off so it doesn't make the sandwich soggy. I'm all about a good textured sandwich, and then I put pickles in the middle. And then that'll be my go-to sandwich midday while we ride.
Righteous. Righteous. Okay, so I know this is probably gonna be everybody's favorite question. All right, so talk to me. What is your favorite dessert, if you even like to?
Oh, I love cookies. I make
Okay.
homemade cookies all the time. Oreos were my go-to. My fiance's like, we're going through a lot of Oreos. Like, I think we should just start making our own. I think it'd be a lot cheaper. I'm like, all right, yeah, you're right. So I've been searching for this specific taste of like a classic homemade cookie, chocolate chip cookie that I've had when I was a kid. And I think I've almost nailed it. But so now every night I have three homemade chocolate chip cookies. So I have the dough in the
Yeah.
fridge, and just each night I turn the oven on, put the three, have fresh made, and I have it with a glass of milk. Hands down. Even when I go on like on Vermont
Yeah.
trips or other long weekends, I bring the dough with me and then I make everyone cookies. But that's like my go-to. I always have to have cookies and milk as my dessert.
All right, let me text you my address so you can send some.
You got it.
Okay, all right. So some closing questions for you. All right. So what would you say is like one piece of nutritional advice you'd like to give everybody? I
Drink
know you
enough
get bunch,
water.
but okay. I'm
Drink
sorry.
your water. No one's ever drinking enough. Half your body weight in ounces of water is your base. However many ounces of caffeine you drink, if you have 16 ounces of coffee, you need to add 16 ounces of water on top of that. Also, if you exercise, 8 ounces of water for every 15 minutes of exercise. So if you are someone who weighs 200 pounds, drinks 16 ounces of coffee, and works out for an hour, that is 100 ounces of water plus 16 for the coffee plus 32 for the gym. So that would be what? 148?
Yeah.
148 ounces of water for someone who's doing that. So chances are no one's really drinking enough, but that's a fake math of someone. But that is a huge difference for those who are looking for weight management, body composition, dealing with blood pressure, acid reflux, constipation, bloating. Water is 9 times out of 10 going to resolve all of those issues. And like I didn't say this, but weight loss is very slow for those who are looking for it. And so when people, since it takes a long time, I know this was a rapid fire, but I
All
know it
good.
takes a long time. So people have a hard time staying motivated. Water, you're going to immediately see physical results. You're going to look leaner. You're not going to feel bloated. You're probably holding on to 5 pounds of water weight you didn't have. So I'm so annoying about water because you immediately feel better. If you're tired, it's from lack of water. So that 2, 3 o'clock afternoon lull is probably because we're not drinking enough water. So the one main thing I will tell people is drink plenty of water. You will feel so, so, so much better.
I love that. No, always add some really good knowledge or information that's going to be beneficial to help somebody become healthy. So with that also being said, two last questions. What would you say is your final words of encouragement for somebody beginning their fitness journey? Max, from a
Give
nutrition
yourself
standpoint.
grace.
Okay.
Be easy with yourself. And um be realistic. Start slow and just focus on what is something that can be sustainable and make sure you do things that you like. Whether that is fitness or food, if you don't like it, why would you want to do that for the rest of your life? We have to work out at least half the week for the rest of our lives. Make sure it's something that you enjoy. Food, make sure it's foods that you enjoy. So it's just figuring out what are the foods that we like that also fit the bill of health. But that is a huge range. I don't like vegetables. There's a zillion vegetables and a zillion ways to cook them and a zillion ways to eat them. If somebody only likes broccoli, if there's cheese on it, I don't care. Get the broccoli with cheese in your mouth. I love that you're eating broccoli. So, same thing with fluids. If you like water, but you like carbonation and you want a flavored seltzer, that's fine. It counts. So, there's so much range. Just try to figure out things that you enjoy and give yourself grace and be patient. It takes time.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so if somebody's listening to this, they're super excited, you've got them motivated, but they want more information, they want to follow you, they want to maybe book an appointment. How do our followers and friends and family find you and start this process with you?
Yeah, so they can find me on absolutenutritioncounseling.com or ancnj.com, and you can go on my website and then you can see all the insurances that we take. You can schedule through there. Our phone number is on there. Our Instagram is absolute.counseling.nutrition if you want to go on our Instagram. And then my Instagram is Lindsay Delash. Feel free to follow me as well. But the website is where you're going to get all the information, all the nitty gritties. There's also some free dining out playbooks that I made for anyone who's interested. If you just want a free pamphlet of something from when we're dining out, or if we are just dealing with a unhealthy relationship with food, I have one that is more sensitive for that as well. And again, information to schedule is all on there.
Awesome. Lindsay, thank you for doing this with us. I wholeheartedly appreciate it. I'm looking forward to continue working with you and continue referring people to you so you continue to change lives. So I'm very thankful for you.
Oh, it is my pleasure. I absolutely love this and I love what you do. There's no way I would ever, not no way, but I'm here also because I really respect and appreciate what you do, and I love the messaging and approach that you take because it very much resembles mine. I wouldn't just be talking to anybody because I don't always trust everybody, and I very much trust you and your mission and everything. So, John, you're the best, and I'm so happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, that'll be it. We will see you on the next edition of Team Ambition Podcast. You guys take care.